Welcome back. In this episode, the White House, Trump's White House moves for an emergency stay after a DC judge rules that the National Guard deployment is unlawful. See that? I told you that they were going to start doing this. Now, the judge essentially is proving our point, even as the DOJ, the judge ignores the fact that two National Guardsmen were attacked recently and just jumps straight into, look, your deployment of the guard here is unlawful. And then we go back to Biden's Afghan refugee scandal. It explodes as the National Counterterrorism Director confirms ISIS-linked Afghans were waved into America. Schumer admits the quiet part about citizenship for illegals, and Trump blasts Ilhan Omar after DHS sources confirm marriage fraud. Stay with me till the end because I'll be responding directly to your comments in the chat. Right. Now, don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe, and share this video. Now, let's get started with our first story. Now, so a judge essentially tells the president that his deployment of the National Guard is unlawful.
Also, the Trump White House appeals for an emergency stay on a ruling ordering the National Guard to leave D.C., the DOJ making that filing Wednesday afternoon. However, there is no mention of the attack on the two West Virginia National Guardsmen. A district judge ruled last week that Trump's deployment of the Guard in D.C. was unlawful, but delayed the order to give the Trump administration time to appeal. The DOJ is asking for a stay to be issued by December 4th.
All right, so here we are playing the same games. I did say that we were going to start hearing the word unlawful. It was going to be a feature in the news going forward after the 6 Democrats released that video claiming that President Trump might be issuing some illegal orders in the future, and magically billboards start appearing in front of army bases, and then there's a website that's been prepared to instruct soldiers on how to learn how to disobey the so-called unlawful orders. And we discovered that website was acquired. The address to the website, the URL, was acquired in August. So they've been planning this for a long time. So this Biden appointed judge, among other judges, along with other judges, are undermining national security at the moment that the Guard is under attack. They conveniently refuse to, regard the fact that one of the Guardsmen has been killed. All right. So let's see how this plays out. Now, should Trump ignore the judge and protect the Guard's deployment anyway? Let me know your thoughts in the chat. We have a poll running. Consider taking the poll, and let's know your thoughts on the question. All right, I'm going to read out the question. Should all Afghan refugees from 2021 be rescreened? And we already have some answers coming in. I'm going to be getting to that story shortly. Okay, so speaking of attacks on the National Guard, the shooter who attacked the National Guard just got hit with charges that changed the entire conversation. We heard Jeanine Pirro earlier saying that currently the charges were assault with a deadly weapon, but that if any of the officers or both of them died, that it would be bumped up to a murder charge. So here she is on Fox.
Are we going to see an escalation in charges?
Oh, there's no question. First of all, our hearts go out and our thoughts and prayers go out to the family of a beautiful 20-year-old Sarah Beckstrom who answered the call to serve her nation. And she volunteered, and she ended up being shot ambush style on the cold streets of Washington, D.C. By an individual who will now be charged with murder in the first degree. There are certainly many more charges to come, but we are upgrading the initial charges of assault to murder in the first degree. And we are hoping that the more information we can get and the more investigation that is going on 24/7 now, around the clock in Washington, the more we will find out about what actually happened in terms of this individual even being in this country and being in a position to ambush and shoot down an innocent young woman who was doing her duty to the people of this country.
All right, so Biden let this Afghan into the US. And we also found out that his legal status expired in September. He should have been removed. You know, all the leftists who kept screaming, no one is illegal, no one is illegal, until something tragic happens. But you know what? They never own up to their mistakes because they immediately pivot to blaming Trump for the tragedy. This shooting was preventable. You know it. I know it. Everyone knows it. But the leftists don't want to own up to it. Now, should every Afghan brought in after 2021 be reinvestigated immediately? All right, that is a question that I would like us to consider. All right, now here's where the story gets darker. Biden didn't just fail to deport this guy; his administration ushered in thousands just like him. But before I skip over into that, I want to look into the chat. I can see Canary King, you're in the chat. Intergalactic Wrangler, you're in the chat. I'm gonna just pull up your chats over here. Okay. I do enjoy acknowledging you guys. I love having these conversations with you guys. I know you're here to listen to the news, but I just want to say hi to make sure that you know I see you. Okay, guys. Okay, so let me know your thoughts in the chat. Okay, we've covered two stories already in quick succession. Now, before we talk about Biden's disastrous policies that ushered in thousands, just like this Afghan national who murdered the National Guard agent, I would like you to consider subscribing if you're watching and you're not subscribed. Okay, hit the bell icon if you enjoy the easygoing tone of my commentary without all the outrage, and please consider liking this video and subscribing. If you don't do either of those things, it's fine. Just watching and chatting is fine. I'm grateful for that too. Thank you for your support. Now, apart from the Afghan nationals, we have Ilhan Omar. And Ilhan Omar has been a baffling individual, in my opinion, for me as an immigrant. I see her being an immigrant who rises up to being able to serve in Congress. And she repeatedly attacks the country that has been so kind to her. Here she is talking about the need to start profiling white men. Okay? Seeing is believing.
But you say there's no debate about whether Trump's a racist, and a lot of people would agree with you on that. And in fact, there's been an explosion in the number of anti-Muslim, far-right, white nationalist groups in the US over the past couple of years. Your own state of Minnesota experienced a record number of anti-Muslim incidents in 2016. You yourself, I believe, just a few weeks after your election victory, I think you had a cab driver call you filthy and ISIS and threaten to remove your hijab. How much do you hold Trump and the rise of Trump responsible for this explosion of US Islamophobia?
Oh, I would actually come very short of holding them exclusively responsible.
All right, so according to Ilhan Omar, President Trump is the cause of Islamophobia. Nice.
For the rights. I think when you demonize and dehumanize, it is easy for people to commit acts of violence against those individuals because they no longer see them as a person, as someone who has feelings, who's worthy of respect.
Accuse the other side of the thing that you're doing. Ilhan Omar, shortly after Charlie Kirk's assassination, said that Charlie Kirk's legacy belonged in the dustbin of history. They are the ones who dehumanize. They are the ones who make sure that the person is depersoned so that it's okay to talk about them like they're trash and like they're nothing. That's what they do. And they claim that that's what people on the right do. Now, I've hung around the right for many years, okay? And right-leaning people tend to be conscientious. Most of them tend to be Christian. I've hung around them many times, and Christians don't dehumanize people. All of the aid agencies, the original aid agencies in the world, were started by the church. So this accusation that she's spitting out there, like, it just makes no sense.
And I think that is where we are moving away from the idea that we are supposed to be a welcoming nation.
A lot of conservatives in particular would say that the rise in Islamophobia is a result not of hate, but of fear, a legitimate fear, they say, of quote-unquote jihadist terrorism, whether it's Fort Hood or San Bernardino or the recent truck attack in New York. What do you say to them?
I would say our country should be more fearful of white men.
All right, so she says the United States should be more fearful of white men. White men didn't fly airplanes into the World Trade Center. Excuse me, my youngest is here. Yes, Jamie. James, I am on. Yeah, okay. I will. Okay, all right, here you go. Okay, it's cocked. Okay. All right, go play with your brother. Okay. All right, and shut the door. Thank you. Oh my goodness. Excuse me. Now here I'm trying to be professional, and my kids are barging in. I put this light outside the door to let them know when the light is on, Dad is live streaming or recording. He's 3 years old. He doesn't know what the light means. He thinks it's a toy. All right, so where was I? I've lost my place. So let's jump into the chat. I've lost my place. All right, so Intergalactic Angler says she married her brother. That's so screwy. It's been proven. It's obvious. And whenever you run into these stories of what people who immigrate into the United States do, you start asking some questions like, what on earth is going on here? Aren't you trying? Aren't you making an effort to try to integrate into this community? We don't marry our siblings in the United States, but obviously, they think it's okay. All right, so she blames white men for all of the violence in the United States. White men didn't attack the United States. White men didn't fly jets into the World Trade Center and other buildings on 9/11. White men didn't break into Israel on October 7th and slaughter over 1,000 Israeli. So what is she talking about? Right? These are the people who have been welcomed into the United States. And instead of showing some gratitude, they turn and rip at the United States. President Trump isn't having it anymore. His last press conference was really pointed. He didn't pull any punches. All right. Now, according to Ilhan Omar, and if she's to be believed, they want to monitor white men and yet refuse to monitor the groups actually tied to terror incidents. Ilhan Omar never once has condemned the guard shooting. Have you seen her go on any of the stations or post on social media that she commiserates with the family of the guard member who was killed? Her rhetoric continues to increase racial division and distracts from the real threats. They want you to believe the threats are coming from a different source. The data is very clear. There is a certain group of people from whom these threats tend to come from. They're the ones who invented suicide bombing. Suicide bombing never existed until they showed up. Okay? The Christians don't believe in that. White men don't believe in that. Even after the Second World War with the kamikazes, they didn't learn to do that. Okay? Everything that is life affirming is connected to the civilization of the West. So she's barking up the wrong tree. Now, let me know in the chat, is Ilhan Omar intentionally redirecting blame away from her own community's scandals? Okay, let me know in the chat. And while Ilhan Omar distracts the country with racial politics and national counter-terror, and all of the stuff she's talking about, officials just dropped the most alarming data of the year. The National Counterterrorism Center confirms that ISIS-linked Afghans were let into the country under Joe Biden. Let's watch.
Brought tens of thousands of unvetted Afghans into the United States of America. Now, NCTC has done their job, and they've identified over 1,400 of these Afghans as having ties to ISIS and to other terrorist groups. Yet Biden let them into the interior of the United States. Same thing with a bunch of ISIS-affiliated Tajiks and Uzbeks who came into the United States of America as well. There's around 600 of them that were also identified by NCTC that are here in America right now.
Now, this is something that should concern everyone. Okay. We're still complaining that 10 million people broke into the country illegally under the Biden administration. This report states clearly that there were people who were identified that are connected to ISIS. Biden claimed that he vetted thousands of them. Now it's been proven false. Okay, now here's President Trump again calling him out.
And nobody knows who the hell they are, Cheryl. These aren't the interpreters that we taught. These were people that rushed into the planes, and they were so interested in trying to make it sound like, oh, they're doing a good job. These people, many of these people are going to be terrorists, okay? They're going to be terrorists. They were very powerful. They were very energetic in getting onto the aircraft.
They say they're vetting them very carefully with biometrics and documentation.
They're not doing that, and you can't because there is no documentation.
And today we're finding out that they actually did not do that. They didn't. And we have one of them in the country. Yes, he was trained by the CIA. Okay, but again and again, people have said that these Afghans could not be trusted. They would turn on you on a dime. And these were the ones who were unvetted and brought into the country. 1,400 Afghans have been flagged for ISIS, plus 600 Tajiks, Uzbeks with ties to ISIS. Terror networks are inside the US right now. And Trump predicted this exact scenario in 2021. Now, let me know in the chat, was this mass migration incompetence or intentional? Was it something that was planned to create false flag attacks and so on? Let me know in the chat. Sometimes we want to believe that these people are stupid, they're dumb. During our assessment of the news, we call them names and we say, look, these people are stupid, they're dumb, they're foolish, they're imbeciles, they're retarded. But honestly, when you listen to them and you watch them, I don't think they're retarded. I don't think that they're dumb. I think these things have been orchestrated in order to create the right environment to take away more of our freedoms. Look at what happened during 9/11. 9/11 happened. The United States began to create a surveillance state as a result of the attack on American soil. Americans said it was okay for the government to go ahead and take away more freedoms and to intrude into the lives of every American. So now they can listen into your phone calls, trace your words, look for keywords. And if they don't like the keywords that they hear during your phone calls, you get a visit from the FBI or from Homeland Security. All right. All of that happened because of 9/11. All right. So is this yet another ploy to create another false flag attack on the United States in order to take away more of your freedoms? Let me know in the chat. While America faces imported terror crisis, Democrats are saying the quiet part out loud about why they need these immigrants. Last year, we saw this video, and this is a callback, okay? Because here Schumer says America needs citizenship for over 10 million illegal immigrants who broke into the country. Okay, don't believe me? Here's him saying it.
The only way we're going to have a great future in America is if we welcome and embrace immigrants, the dreamers and all of them, because our ultimate goal is to help the dreamers, but get a path to citizenship for all 11 million or however many undocumented there are here.
So the Democrats are saying the only way you can have a great future is to give citizenship to people who started their journey to citizenship by breaking the law. They broke into the country, and then you're rewarding them by making them citizens. All right. Now, people heard this and they said, this is all about elections. These people want these immigrants who have been gifted free citizenship, rewarded for breaking into the country with free citizenship. These people are going to be lifetime voters. So when you flood the voter rolls with an additional 10 million voters who are beholden to the Democrat Party, what do you think is going to happen for the next 50 years or 100 years in the United States? You've replaced the population of Native American, native-born Americans with 10 million new voters who will vote the way their benefactors tell them to vote. Blue states need these voters to survive because have you looked at the blue states? They are ridden with crime. They are poorly run. They don't have any policy to run on that makes any sense. So in order for them to keep power, they have to infuse the voting population with immigrants who feel like they owe them, and they continue to vote for the Democrats because of what they continue to give them. Free money, free phones, free hotel rooms. They're simply buying votes. And this explains the open borders and the silence on terror infiltration. We saw how the Democrats reacted when Trende Iragwa took over buildings. And they said, well, there's nothing to see here. And even if they took over buildings, it's just a couple of buildings. You know, it's amazing what we saw in 2024. Now, let me know your thoughts in the chat, okay? Is citizenship for illegals the Democrats' 2026 election strategy, or is this something that they're planning for 2028? Let me know in the chat what you think. All right. Now, while Democrats continue to bend over backwards for illegals, look at how they treat federal agents and law enforcement. Right? Because now we've seen the violence that happened with the National Guard agents. And this started a long time ago, right? We heard this video from Maxine Waters days ago, and we're going to hear it again because they keep saying the quiet part out loud. They tell you what they're going to do. And when you say, hey, wait a second, do you mean this is what you're going to do? They say, no, how could you imagine that we could do that? You're a conspiracy theorist. You know, you're insane. And then something happens. You're like, well, you know, we didn't mean it, but, you know, besides, it's Trump's fault. Here she is.
This is an important press conference that is being held to let you know what we're all doing, resisting this low-down, dirty, no-good, filthy president of the United States of America. Let me just say this. They are targeting our leadership, both in the Latino community and in the Black community. And while they're targeting them and following them, I'm on the street and I'm following ICE. And I'm targeting ICE. And I'm targeting ICE. And we're going to fight together. And the question that you're asking, the protest must continue. You must not stop. I'm protesting. I've been to 11 of them. I stay on the street, in the alleys, wherever I need to be. We're not afraid. We're not afraid. And as the mayor said, we're not going to let him trigger us into a confrontation because we know that he would love to have martial law.
Love to have martial law.
So they've been saying this for years. We've been calling them out and saying these people are telling you what they're planning. They're saying the quiet part out loud. We saw ICE agents being firebombed, ambushed, shot at, National Guard killed, okay, one in critical condition. I don't know his current state. Democrats compare ICE to Nazis and their voters act accordingly. And then they pretend Trump is the problem. Okay. Now, do Democrats want violence to escalate so that they can blame Trump? I think so. But let me know what you think in the chat. Now, I have several chats that I want to respond to. Intergalactic Wrangler says, all this, I believe, has been planned. Uniparty has a long-term plan, and Trump is nothing but a 4-year employee. I agree. And so let me know what you think, okay? I'm just going to ask you guys in the chat, give me some suggestions. If you were to suggest what the MAGA Republican Party should do in order to secure a long-term plan that counters the Uniparty plan, okay, let me know some of your suggestions in the chat. I'm curious because we've sat in this live stream several times. You've heard me talk, and we're saying we know what you're doing, we know where you're going with this. We see you, but knowing what they're doing and understanding the direction they're heading in isn't enough. What can we do to counter the evil plans that they have in motion? All right. I just let me know in the chat what your ideas are. You don't have to be detailed. You can just put down like a bullet point of what you think we should be thinking and doing long term. All right. One thing that I think Republicans should be doing is taking local elections seriously. Local elections are not taken as seriously as they should be. It seems like Republicans go to bed once they get the White House and the Senate and the House, but they leave things like school boards and the mayoral races and even the governorship elections. So sometimes they don't take them as seriously as they should. I heard that in Austin, Texas, that during the last election cycle, that 20 judges who were being voted on were returned unopposed. Why is that a bad thing? They were all Democrats. So my suggestion would be take local elections more seriously. It's something that Republicans take very lightly, but Democrats take very seriously. Okay. Now I'm going to read another chat from Intergalactic Angler, but you're right. As far as they're concerned, Trump is a 4-year employee. The bureaucrats are going to do their best to slow him down, to try and make sure he doesn't do enough damage to their system. He almost got them with Doge, almost, but they managed to stop Elon before Elon could do as much damage as he should have done to their system. That's my take. Okay. Right. Next chat by Intergalactic Angler. Service guarantees citizenship. A citizen accepts personal responsibility for the safety of the body politic, defending it with his life. A civilian does not. Starship Troopers. oh yeah. Well, Starship Troopers kind of was like a dystopian Nazi propaganda thing that was going on in the movies. I watched a review of that movie some days ago, and the reviewer basically broke it down to say that this was a propaganda-driven reality or civilization. It was very interesting to watch that review. Thank you, Intergalactic Angler. All right, so now all of this talk leads to the ugliest scandal of the night, and Trump himself is now speaking out. All right, we've heard that that he confirms that Ilhan Omar married her brother, and then Intergalactic Angler has pointed that out. Now, I want to be sure I have that footage. Yeah, we do. So this is a basic overview of the findings of the DHS.
Yeah, because I got like I'll break a little news on this. I'm pretty close with a lot of people at Homeland Security, and allegedly there's a considerable amount, demonstrable amounts of evidence that the government has that proves this. And perhaps they're like trying to figure out which way to go around it. I know it's got to be a touchy issue, obviously, you know. But what do you say to this, Congresswoman?
So let's read this. The worst congressman or woman in our country, Ilhan Omar, always wrapped in her swaddling hijab, and who probably came into the country illegally, in that you are not allowed to marry your brother, does nothing but hatefully complain about our country, its constitutional, and how badly she is treated. That was a Trump post.
A little too touchy for family, but you know, in Congress, it's going to be really difficult to have a real investigation like we should. Look, Nancy Mace bravely put a privileged resolution on the floor condemning the remarks made by Ilhan Omar. And Ilhan Omar was trying to troll everyone in the process leading up to the vote. And she just simply wanted to censure her. She said you should not be on the Foreign Affairs Committee with the rhetoric that you have, and then of course it went against our Congressional Code of Ethics that we agree to when we are signed in as members of Congress, and we
you have a code of ethics. You have a code of ethics that says you can't marry your brother.
You know, that might need to be put in, but we definitely have a code
I think that's
of
in the
ethics.
Bible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Our Bible.
Yes.
And anyway, you had Republicans block that. You had Republicans table this motion.
And this is the other problem that we have. We have Republicans who aren't afraid of their constituents. They go out there and they vote this way. They shut down investigations into people like Ilhan Omar, who hate America. Okay? The woman categorically hates America, hates the things that make America great. America, as far as she's concerned, is a tool that she can use to benefit her people back in Somalia. She says it, she has said it, it's been published repeatedly, and what happens to her? Nothing. Why? Because her constituents are essentially Somalis. They are Somalis who continue to vote for her, not Americans, Somalis. So you have an insurgency in Congress, and no one is really making any trouble over it. All right. Now, the DHS sources say that the evidence, of course, is demonstrable. But what she's saying is that the way Congress works is hard to take any action against Ilhan Omar. Simply removing her from committees she's not meant to be on is like pulling teeth. The Republicans in the House who continue to make these deals to keep her on these committees are traitors to the Republican Party. You guys let me know in the chat what should happen to these people. Okay. All right. Now, as far as I'm concerned, this is one of the biggest scandals involving a sitting congresswoman in modern history, marrying her brother in order to get citizenship or get access to the United States. All right. Of course, there's the other scandal of taking money from Jeffrey Epstein, and then there's another scandal of Jeffrey Epstein coaching you while you're trying to impeach Trump. And all of this has happened with representatives from the Democrat Party. Okay. Now, let me know in the chat, should Ilhan Omar be deported if DHS confirms without a reasonable doubt that there was fraud in how she got into the country? Okay, let me know what you think in the chat. All right, keep your messages coming in the chat. I would like us to have a conversation here. Now, the Afghan shooter that Trump had warned about years ago, okay, should have been removed months ago. All right, his visa had expired in September, and he shouldn't have been here. I've heard reports that I've heard reports that there is a law in place that makes it almost impossible to remove these people from the country once they get into the country under the Asylum Act or something like that. So let's listen to this briefly.
His invitation to be here in the United States expired in September, which means that in September, he should have either gone back home or done the necessary paperwork in order to remain here in the United States. ICE was formed in 2003, but illegal immigrants have been deported since 1892. Back before ICE was formed, it was being done by the DOJ and INS.
You know, it's very clear what has to be done, but Democrats make it look like deportation is a racist thing to do. Intergalactic Angler says, yes, deport her if she's guilty, obviously, because when you come into the country under false pretenses, you lie in your application, all right, it means that everything that you gained from that application is void. So I look, I don't think it's rocket science, but with all of the posturing and political correctness and the wheeling and dealing in Congress, do you think that they're going to do anything about this? All right. Everyone can blame Biden all they want. Okay, but what are you going to do about this now? All right. Trump, I played the video. He predicted unvetted Afghans were being brought into the country and were a security risk. We've seen the effect of that with the tragic events of the last 48 hours. All right. This shooting was the result of Biden era negligence. So, is this the most preventable terror attack in recent US history? I'd like to know your thoughts in the chat. All right, we're going to spend the next couple of minutes talking in the chat because, we just need to go over. This is Friday, and then I'll explain to you why I'm dressed the way I'm dressed. You know, I rarely dress this way, and I'll tell you a special event that's happening in less than 2 hours. Okay. Now, in this episode, we covered Trump's emergency stay to protect the National Guard. A judge says his deployment of National Guard was unlawful, and I told you that word was going to start featuring very often in the days to come. Biden's Afghan refugee disaster was covered. ISIS-linked immigrants inside the U.S. Has been, discussed. Ilhan Omar profiling comments about white people being more dangerous than the people that we know were responsible for driving planes into buildings on 9/11 and blowing up themselves in terrorist attacks all over the world. No, it's white people, and white people were not involved in any of these things. But it's white people, according to Ilhan Omar, who are the danger. Chuck Schumer, of course, a blast from the past, calling for citizenship for illegals, 10 million illegals. And we've read in what that means. The escalating violence against ICE and federal agents encouraged and cheered on by Democrats, and Trump confirming DHS evidence of Ilhan Omar's immigration fraud, all while an Afghan suspect whose visa expired in September shot 2 National Guardsmen, killed one of them near the White House. It's been a crazy week. We thought that the Epstein file debacle. We thought that the Epstein file debacle was the worst we would see in a while, and they raised us a shooting of 2 federal agents. One died, one struggled, still fighting for his life. Intergalactic Angler, does this mean that you're off to bed? Okay. All right. So yeah, so we're basically done. So 2 things I promise that I'll let you in on. So I'm dressed like this because I literally just parked the car, ran up the stairs, and quickly began to fire up the live stream because I had to attend a dinner. All right, so I went out with my family to have a dinner with our church, and our church group, and it was fun. And it began to snow and flurry while we were driving home. It was nice. And then the second thing that unrelated to this dinner, in by midnight, I'll be turning 48. Right, so it's my birthday by midnight, and I think I'll be awake till then. I usually stay up to edit videos and to do a few other things. So I just wanted to share this with you since you guys are hanging out with me tonight on a Friday on the eve of my birthday. I usually don't I don't celebrate my birthdays because I didn't celebrate my birthday much as a kid. As a child, I didn't, and that was because my father wasn't raised to celebrate birthdays because his father didn't celebrate birthdays. It was more like a thing, and it just you know happened to be something that that I began to do personally. Thank you, Canary King, for the birthday wishes. Um, so there are days when I would actually be halfway through the day, and Intergalactic Anglers, thank you. Happy holidays and happy birthday. Thank you. All right. Thank you. So we're basically done with the live stream. Thank you for hanging out. Tomorrow I'll just try and my family is asking me what I want for my birthday. I just want a nap. I want a nap. But we'll see how that works out. But thank you for helping out with being here present, sending in the chat and contributing to the live streams. We'll be back on Monday. Yes, we'll be back on Monday, noon Eastern on Monday, and at 9 Eastern on Monday. And then and hopefully we can have a better experience. The news keeps getting darker and darker, and I'm like, do we want to sit down all day and talk about the news? Let's find some other way of entertaining ourselves while we talk about the news. So I'm going to be thinking about healthier ways to review the news without getting upset, raising our blood pressure, and calling these leftists idiots. I want to find out ways to do that so that it's more entertaining. Okay. Because I honestly don't think that it is sustainable to just keep being upset about these guys. Okay. Oh yeah, there's a comment from the comment section. I want to take a look at this and I want you to tell me what you think. Okay. Now this is a dude. I think he's a dude. Let me sort by the newest. Okay. Two comments that we'll look at from the first live stream, I believe, where we reported the shooting of the National Guardsmen. Scott Daniels 3033 says, "Why would anyone ever vote for someone willing to call themselves a Democrat? It's an honest question based on the history of that party. No one should." So guys, if you have a reply to Scott Daniels, I would like to have you post that in the chat, because to be honest, I don't know why anyone would want to be a Democrat knowing what their history is and what their policies are today. Husna 44, an interesting comment on a video clip that I released of Hakeem Jeffries defending insurance giants when President Trump said that he was going to actually stop funding the insurance companies and put the money in the hands of the Americans. Hakeem Jeffries deflects the statement or the question and begins to attack President Trump and saying he's not serious. Now, this guy says to me, "You're on the wrong side of history, sorry to say. Democrats stand with the underprivileged as always. There is no perfect healthcare system." Okay, so when you guys were claiming that Obamacare was perfect, Obama himself promised that healthcare would not get $1 more expensive than it was when he was giving his speeches, selling Obamacare, and now it's blown up in their faces. Oh, now it's there's no perfect healthcare. The Democrats are experts at moving the goalposts. So he says Republicans want the needy to disappear. sometimes I feel like I'm talking to people who have lost the grip on reality. Democrats posture as if they stand with the underprivileged, but they simply use the underprivileged for their own ends. The underprivileged are just pawns. And whenever something is being done to improve the lot of the underprivileged, they jump up screaming, claiming that the Republicans want to kill people. They're shutting down hospitals and long-term healthcare centers. It's crazy. All right, guys, thank you for hanging out. If you're just joining, thank you for connecting with us. If you like what you've heard so far and you'd like to hear more, please consider subscribing to the channel. Like and subscribe, share this video, and please consider returning. And whenever you come back to join us, consider leaving a chat or a comment to contribute to the conversation. I am not an expert. I'm not an expert. I'm just a guy in a spare bedroom wondering what's going on with the world and wanting to talk about it with you. Okay, so I read the news in a fast-paced way to kind of quickly share the news with you, and then we can sit and then have a conversation together and figure things out together. All right, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I appreciate it. And I'll see you on Monday at noon Eastern and 9 p.m. Eastern. Thanks, and God bless you. See you on the next one. Welcome to Headlines and History, live news reactions and your views. We're about to go live soon, so grab your spot and get ready for a sharp, balanced take on today's biggest news stories with a dash of historical insight. Stay tuned. Each week, we tackle the headlines that matter: politics, economics, global events with a balanced lens. We'll react live, tie today's stories to historical moments, and spotlight your views in the chat. From trade talks echoing the 1990s to crises recalling 2008, we're here to unpack it all. Your voice drives the show. Share your thoughts or historical parallels in the live chat, and we'll dive into the best ones. It's news, context, and community all in 1 hour. We're moments away from launching Headlines and History. Stick around for live reactions, historical nuggets, and your chance to chime in. Hit the notification bell, prep your comments, and let's make sense of the news together. See you soon.